Uh, a guy wrote in and asked me um, if I could better explain the difference between my opinion of the difference between classical training versus the the natural horsemanship kind of stuff that goes on nowadays. And he read in the book that I wrote, The Starry Colt, and that's the I thought I explained it the best I could, but I'll try again. Maybe this won't be any better, but this is my opinion. Natural horsemanship is knowing what a horse will do by compulsion, watching a horse and seeing their natural tendencies, seeing the way that they react to things, the way that they ignore things, the way they focus on things, watching a horse and seeing how horses are on their own, and then building a program around that so that they will act the way you want them to act, or react is actually better. React the way you want them to react to outside stimulus because of the way they do things anyway. It would be, and this is a really, really simplified version, but it would be loping your horse around in a circle and feeling when that horse is going to stop anyway of his own accord because he's tired loping around and you're not asking him to go, and waiting until he's just about to stop and then giving the signal of sitting down with your seat and saying, whoa. Eventually you do that enough times and you're going to go ahead and have the horse associate the word whoa with stopping. That's natural horsemanship. It's basing everything off of association of the way the horse acts and reacts of his own accord. Classical training, on the other hand, and when I say classical training, I don't necessarily mean dressage or anything like that, because the methods of what I call classical training, whether it's dressage or whether it's making a spade bit horse or a reining horse or a jumping horse or a rein cow horse, the idea behind the methods is the same. The trainer is training the body to move in a certain way. Training the horse's body, it's based on fitness. If you build fitness in certain muscles at certain times, the horse will move a certain way. Consequently, you can then teach the horse maneuvers based on the way they're wanting to move because of the way you built the fitness in their muscles. It's a lot more sophisticated. Watching a horse and learning how they're going to act and react is pretty cool. But building them up, building their fitness and building their muscle structure to where they will move in the manner that you want them to move in order to do the maneuver that you want to teach them is a lot more sophisticated. It takes a lot more time. There's a lot more to think about. And it's a lot harder to do. But the end result, in my opinion, is a lot better result because, one, you have something that lasts longer. You have a horse that knows how to do a maneuver. Doesn't just do the maneuver. You poked him with a spur and he moved away from it. He does the maneuver because he knows how it feels good to his body. He likes to do it. I'll give one more example here that would, this may muddle it up even worse, or it may make it more easier for someone to understand. When I was in high school, I wrestled. I liked wrestling. Wrestling was a good sport for me. And one of the kids on the wrestling team, he could do a backflip just anytime. Plop, do a backflip. And his name was Paul Sterling. And so Paul was showing off doing backflips. And so I did a backflip. Just whoop, bang, did a backflip. We were on wrestling mats. I had no fear of I was 14, so I also had no brains. but I had no fear of getting hurt or anything like that. And I did one. Well, it turns out I just knew how to do one, or just could do one. I didn't know how to do one. I just could do a backflip. I was just physically able to do it without thinking. And so for years, I would just do a backflip whenever I felt like doing a backflip. Bang! And land on my feet. Years went by. A kid was helping me start colts, and he was a wiry, funny little guy. But he was pretty proud of himself that he could do a backflip. So he did one, and he was like 25 years younger than me. He did a backflip. And so I said, oh, that's cool. And then I did one, just to kind of impress a young guy that was all proud of himself for being able to do a backflip. An old gray-haired guy did one too. And it made him really sad, and he walked off. And I waited until he was completely out of sight and went, oh, God, dang, that hurt. And I was laid up for a while over doing that backflip. It's because I don't know how to do a backflip. No one ever taught me how to do a backflip. I never learned the correct stretches, the correct maneuvers, the correct way to use my body. I'm just able to do it. When I was young, it didn't hurt me because I was flexible and young. As I got older, and I could do one right now. I'm not going to because I'll be crippled for a week. But I can do it. I physically am able to do it, and I'm fit enough to do it, but I don't know how to do it because I was never trained. That's the difference between natural horsemanship and classical training. Had I taken gymnastics and had a coach show me all the maneuvers and all the physical, mechanical parts of that maneuver, then even to this day, I'd be able to just stretch a little bit and do a backflip without hurting myself. But I can't do that. I can't do one without hurting myself because I don't know how. I was never trained. I just went off my natural ability. And that right there in a nutshell is, to me, the main difference between classical training and natural horsemanship. So I hope that helps the guy that asked me. I don't remember what his name was. And I hope that helps somebody. And I really, really hope that it doesn't confuse the heck out of somebody and cause a wreck, but it might. And philosophy, we changed from safety tips to philosophy because I like safety less than I like philosophy. I'm really into philosophy. I'm not really into safety. So this is a good one. This is not by a famous philosopher, but it's by a really good philosopher. His name is John Thacker. I learned a lot from him when I was a kid. And he said to me one time, if you're going to give a horse a break, if you're going to give a horse a day off, do it on his back. So think about that one.